do they lose the most unnecessary money?
Missed investment opportunities.
Taxes that are taken from the investments that they make.
You guys are both very close, very close. So the biggest tax leak for a dentist today is actually their...
All dentists know the common career paths, but how do you know which path is right for you, and are there other options out there?
On this podcast, we will be chatting with industry experts. We want to bring you the knowledge and resources you need to take your career to the next level and break down those industry secrets interview by interview.
We are here to ignite a revolution in the dental landscape
and help you, the dentist, build the career you have always wanted.
I'm Dr. Cassidy Reeder.
I'm Carter Frank.
And welcome to the Revolution Dentistry Podcast.
I'm Carter Frank here with Cassidy Reeder. This is the Revolution Dentistry Podcast, where we help you with strategies to build lasting success for yourself and for your family. Today we have a very exciting episode because we're actually interviewing my dad, Dr. Brady Frank. I'll kick off an intro for him right now. Dr. Brady Frank is a visionary entrepreneur and pioneer in the dental implant industry, with multiple successful exits in implant manufacturing, education, and practice roll-ups. Leveraging his experience in scaling his own 8-location implant practice, Dr. Frank has facilitated the acquisition and sale of over 1,000 dental practices and transacted on more than $500 million in dental real estate. A decorated author and speaker, he specializes in creating strategic partnerships that help dentists expand, maximize profitability, and achieve successful exits. Welcome to the podcast, Brady. Dad, welcome to the podcast. We're super excited to have you.
Cassidy, Carter, it's a pleasure to be here. I can't wait. It's been, how many episodes have you guys got under your belt before
I think we've got about 35 or 40 now.
Awesome.
We finally decided, we had to include you at some point.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Super excited. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're really happy, that the actual man behind, Carter's vision has an inspiration behind Carter's work is here on the podcast, and you're a mentor to me as well. We want all of our listeners to know Dr. Brady Frank is our most anticipated guest here on the show to date. So we're really excited to get into this conversation. He's done incredible things, like you guys have heard Carter say, and we're going to get into the meat and potatoes about his current works and what he's done in the past and what he's got to share. So, I just want to get into the first question here, Brady. How did you form your first private practice group? You mentioned that a little bit. We want to dive into that a little.
Yeah, so it was 1999, which is it's over 25 years ago. I was a junior in dental school, and I had a wrist injury. And they told me I might not be able to practice dentistry. So I went to the Marquette Dental School library, checked out books on transitions. I figured I'd have to buy practices, have associates work them because I wouldn't be able to use my right hand. Long story short, they fixed my right wrist. I could practice, but at that time I had already put 2 practices with real estate under contract as a senior in dental school. Bought one the day I graduated, another 6 months later, and ended up owning 7 of them the first 5 years, and made all the mistakes back then. Had 28 different associates. I didn't know how to create alignment. I was running around trying to manage all those locations. Got trained on implants way back then, and that was the first group where I, as John Maxwell said, failed forward many a times, kind of learning how to have multiple locations.
That's spectacular.
That's awesome.
Spectacular.
I can see in the background there of your studio, one of the books is Transition Time. I've gotten to see firsthand how Transition Time has changed the lives of many doctors. I'll give an example really quick. I don't know if you remember this, Dad. We were at an Italian restaurant, and the person sitting next to us, you knew him, and he bought our meals for us. He invited you over to sit with him. He said he was talking to the waiter. He was like, "This guy made me 8 figures doing this." It was crazy. So I guess my question is, what made you want to write the book Transition Time, besides the fact that it's changed so many doctors' lives?
Yeah, what happened is, and I guess this has been a summary of my career, when I go out there, do things, correct things, fix them up, and actually do it the right way, finally, um, I like to share about it so other people don't have to go through all the mistakes and learning. They say that uh, Experience is learning through your own mistakes, but wisdom is learning through the mistakes of others. So, what I wanted to do is kind of take my whole career up to that point, let's say the first decade of learning through my own mistakes, and give people wisdom, right? So they didn't have to go through them. And thankfully, like that guy in that Italian restaurant, Carter, he had bought the book, right? And I just would give the book away, just pay for shipping way back in the day. And that's right. He made 8 figures more on his dental transaction. It was 18.2 million more just because I'd been there, done that, built that group and many others before then. But the whole genesis to the book was so that people didn't have to make the same mistakes that I did made, and they could scale much faster and achieve what they want to achieve much faster.
That's spectacular. And for everyone, and I already mentioned that Dr. Brady Frank is my mentor in all things that I do entrepreneurially. That is something that I've taken away from his teachings is you want to learn from the mistakes of others. And that's wisdom. That's true wisdom. And so Dr. Frank was kind enough to allow me to learn from his previous mistakes and to, avoid a lot of the pitfalls that many dentists do, experience. So we're really grateful for him because he's done so for so many other dentists as well in the industry. So can you now let's dive into another topic here regarding DSOs. It's a hot topic. We know that they're growing really really quickly. They're taking over a lot of the private practice part of the industry. So how have DSOs changed the landscape? And can you tell us a little bit about the advantages a dentist has in building a DDSO or a dentist-owned DSO?
Yeah. Ever since Rick Workman formed Heartland, we've been on a DSO ramp up. Many people don't know that the first recapitalization or money event of Heartland was an ESOP, a 28% ESOP. And an ESOP is where all the employees and doctors get to own a piece of the company. Rick Workman, just a couple of years ago, said that was one of his greatest achievements in Heartland. Now, during that time, he also opened a rough time, the Effingham Institute. And the Institute, coupled with an ESOP, created really incredible alignment and some of the fastest growth of any dentist owned group out there. And the reason I say dentist owned is because Rick Workman and doctors owned the majority of Heartland,
Hmm.
interestingly enough. And that's when it grew the fastest. He later added Ontario Teachers Union and a private equity company, KKR. And I'm not going to speak to that, but what I will speak to is the largest growth was during the times of that ESOP. Now, DSOs or DDSOs, dentist-owned DSOs, do not need to be recapitalized by private equity. But most DSOs are capitalized by private equity. And what
Hmm.
that has led to is a market that is entirely shaped by interest rates because DSOs use debt to buy practices. When the interest rates go up, like they did recently, the
Hmm.
DSO market goes down. So 19 out of 20 DSOs are doing poorly right now. In fact, they're doing worse than they had told the dentists that they would do when they pitched them. They said, you'll
Right.
have this bite of the apple, this bite of the apple, this. Now they're doing worse than that. And so dentists are making a lot less money than they thought they would in the DSO space. So a lot of dentists are building their own groups, building their own DSOs, and they're not relying on private equity money. They're instead doing creative things like ESOPs, where they get to recapitalize a part of the business without the private equity golden handcuffs.
Hmm.
And frankly, um, I predict that in the next 5 years, the DSO growth rate is going to slump, and the growth rate for dentist-owned DSOs and private dentist-owned groups is going to increase at double the rate of DSOs. So it'll be an interesting time ahead of us.
I really look forward to it. I mean, that's the goal, right? That's the whole point behind Revolution Dentistry, as well as encouraging and inspiring dentists to become those owners themselves, is to inspire dentists to take advantage of the landscape at hand and to get a piece that they can benefit from and that they can build a legacy on. So thank you so much for sharing that piece.
Absolutely. And I also think that, it's very beneficial to keep everything internal, whether it be by using an ESOP or using a different method, because it keeps all the control in the hands of the doctors, which is very helpful. And you talk a lot about that in DDSO strategies. Can you explain what precipitated writing the book and what caused you to want to write it?
Yeah, I think the big thing is a lot of these small dentist-owned groups weren't setting it up correctly. They didn't know what a platform multiple was. Um, they were settling for less than what they should financially. They were getting taken advantage of by private equity companies. And I had already exited an implant company that I built and engineered 3 different systems and all that good stuff. And I was like, man, all my buddies are selling to
Wow.
DSOs. Why are they doing that? Don't sell to a DSO, right? Build a DSO, a dentist-owned DSO. So I wrote the book, DDSO Strategies, to teach dentists what the private equity companies knew and how they were profiting, so dentists didn't have to basically crawl to the big money, put on golden handcuffs, and have a meager retirement. So I went over strategies like the DDSO syndicate, a 1 location practice, a 2 location practice, a 4 location group, how if they band together, they could have a much larger financial picture without the golden handcuffs than they could ever get selling to a corporately owned, private equity backed DSO. And thankfully, since the time of that writing, um, to my knowledge, over 189 dentist-owned groups, DDSOs, have formed and are excelling using the strategies in the book. And so, once again, this was merely a culmination of myself helping hundreds of dentists grow their groups, scale their groups, add implant services to their groups, and basically me falling on my face a bunch, meeting with dozens of attorneys and sharing it with doctors who wanted to scale up instead of 1 location and having multiple.
That's spectacular. That's absolutely spectacular. I think having the proper roadmap to such a complex thing will be the key because we need to make it more simplified in order to have that success. And it seems like these books, I mean, I've read them, they're spectacular. They do a great job of outlining the roadmap that is required for a DDSO, for a dentist owned group to thrive in this landscape and in this industry. So, we're kind of shifting gears here now. Let's talk about some real estate. What are your favorite strategies for investing in dental real estate from your book, Healthcare Real Estate Secrets?
Yeah, that book is the latest book, and it did occur after transacting on over $500 million of real estate. I'd say about $100 million of that real estate I made a lot of mistakes with. The other 400 million I did okay, and yeah, and a part of that 400 million I did really well with. And so, um, back from the start of this interview, I talked about the practice that I bought the day I graduated. I bought a dental building then. It was in 2001, which is 24 years ago. And I realized that that rent check that I was paying to myself every month was really passive, right?
Hmm.
Yet I was grinding it out every day doing dentistry. And so I realized early on that real estate had big tax benefits, had passive income, and allowed for, a lot of acceleration over the long or short term. And so I found a lot of dentists maybe owned their own dental building, but they didn't go actively pursue real estate investments. And so, Healthcare Real Estate Secrets goes over the tax benefits to investing in real estate, how to invest in real estate in other states, how to invest in real estate in your niche, like dentistry. And so, as I got better at investing in real estate, I started to make investments like this. This is a European day spa from the book Transition Time, and I bought it for 575. 2 years later, sold it for 2.4 million, for close to 2 million of profit. I would have
Wow.
never been able to do that in years prior. And so since that time, have done larger healthcare investments, but for doctors that may only own their dental building or a few other pieces of real estate, one of the keys and one of the benefits of growing your own group of practices is being able to occupy the real estate. And there's something called a sale leaseback, where your company leases the real estate, then you sell the real estate and free up a ton of capital. And that capital you can use to grow your group, put in your retirement savings account, open a new business. And so really, when you systematize that, you can do real estate investments, new ones, over and over and over again, and keep creating more profits, more tax savings, and more cash flow. And so I viewed real estate as the next step for any dentist who feels like they've done pretty well in dentistry and now they want to move to another asset class. Starting to really leverage and scale in real estate, I think, is a great next step.
Wow, that's spectacular. I feel like the real estate component is overlooked often. You know, a lot of dentists, whenever they are faced with that opportunity to buy real estate, whenever they buy the practice, they don't take advantage of it, and that's a big mistake. You know, and the strategy called the sale leaseback strategy that you just mentioned. I mean, I've learned a lot about it right through your mentorship, and freeing up that kind of capital in a real estate transaction to help provide your office with a ton of capital to be able to make improvements in your practice, or to open up another business, or to go buy another practice. Now that's spectacular strategies right there that not many know about.
Right. And you've invented so many ways for doctors to build their retirement accounts, whether it be through real estate or passive practice ownership. Can you give us three strategies that you know that can build a doctor's retirement account more quickly than standard dental financing?
Yeah. That's a topic I'd love to chat about. Before we get into it, I want to ask the two of you a question and see if you know it. Can I do
Of
that? Can we do
course.
that on?
Of
Let's do it.
course.
I know you're
Hopefully
asking
we
me questions.
pass.
So what do you guys think is a dentist's biggest income leak? Where do they lose the most money? Dental supplies, lab, staff. Where do they lose the most unnecessary money in their lives?
Hmm. Man, I'm gonna say they probably lose the most amount of money in missed investment opportunities. I mean, investment opportunities that they, I suppose, aren't taking advantage of could be costing them the most in the long run. I mean, that could be a bad answer, but that's just kind of what came to me immediately.
That's a good answer, Carter. How about your answer? Do you have a thought?
I'm gonna go with taxes that are taken from the investments that they make.
Okay, and Carter says tech. So you guys are both very close, very close. So the biggest tax leak for a dentist today is actually their personal income taxes on the net income from their practice. So
Okay.
most dentists are in the 38.5% tax bracket, plus their state tax, plus Obamacare tax, close to 50%. So when they make, let's say they have $1 million practice and they're netting 300,000, they're going to give
Mm-hmm.
half that to the government. So that's
Mm-hmm.
bigger than their lab bill, their supply bill, right? So
Right.
so this goes back to the question, Carter, that you asked. You know, how can you save on taxes? I found this. There's a lot of in the white strategies, in the gray, and in the black strategies, which are no good. And so I think all of us would rather stay in the white with tax strategies, right?
Of
With tax
course.
strategies. And so the best way to save a ton of money on taxes is to follow the government's rules. And so the government wrote a set of rules in the early 80s called the ERISA laws in your tax code. ERISA. You can put it in Chat GPT, it'll give you a bunch of information, but it basically is all the laws regarding your retirement account, which is the largest set of advantages the government has given to us. So I'm going to go over three ways that you can take advantage of the system and at least cut your tax bill in half, which to most listening might be hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so,
Yeah, please do.
right, okay, so there's three forms of tax savings via our retirement code in the ERISA laws. Number one, the IRA, the individual retirement account. Number two, all this stuff that a dental practice could do, a 401k, profit sharing, safe harbor, defined benefit plan. Many of you are using all that. That's all ERISA qualified money, big tax advantages to that. You can pass some of it to your staff. Number three, and you may not have heard of it, and I mentioned it earlier, this is for bigger companies. So IRA is an individual retirement account. 401k, the second bucket is for a small business. Now there's something for a company, the ESOP, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the ESOP allows a company to recap or re-money, new money, by allowing it to sell a portion of its stock to its employees, and in our case, our doctors. And
Mm-hmm.
Heartland did this, right? Which is a great model. And so, for any of you that were thinking about selling to a DSO someday, an ESOP is a much better model, and Rick Workman showed us that, right? He sold
Mm-hmm.
28% of Heartland early on, okay? And what it allows for is a doctor, the founder, to take all that money and pay zero taxes on it and
Wow.
fill up the retirement account, right? And at the same time, a buzzword in the DSO market has been alignment, aligning with doctors. You know, DSOs used to buy a practice 100%. Now they only partner on them, calling it a DPO, a dental partnership organization. So in essence, everyone who's listening, think about if you were able to partner with your staff, how much more motivated they'd be, how much more you'd retain the staff, how much more your hygienists tried to make the hygiene department profitable, how much your associate would want to excel in implants or other procedures. That's what an ESOP does. It not only gives the founder liquidity, fills up their retirement bank account, and no taxes, but it also at the same time elevates the staff and doctor partners into actual owners of the business without giving up any control. Right. So that's
Wow.
that's the third one is an ESOP. I'd be happy to share any details on any of that. That will be
Yeah.
sneak preview. The next book, it's a 10-year anniversary of the trilogy, and I'm adding all the tax stuff because I've paid tens of millions too much in taxes, and now I'm using the government's rule book, and it is wonderful. So I'd love to share. And by the way, the ways to work with IRAs is a self-directed IRA or self-directed Roth IRA to be a private lender into other dental practices and real estate
Mm-hmm.
with the 401k, right? Standard methodologies like you're already using in your dental practice. And then the ESOP, merging together with other practices and performing an ESOP if you're too small. If you're a single location group practice, then what I went over in DDSO strategies where you merge with other practices, this is the way the DDSO syndicate allows you to take part in an ESOP if you're too small for an ESOP to qualify. And so that will be in the 10-year anniversary edition of the trilogy. I'm adding all the tax stuff. It's not in there right now, however.
So how would someone go about getting a copy of the 10-year anniversary edition?
Yes, I am launching that, and I've been working hard on it. And the last book, Healthcare Real Estate Secrets, was written a little over 3 years ago, and I've learned a lot in the last 3 years. So I'm adding all that new information, adding a bunch of examples. I'm actually, believe it or not, Cassidy and Carter, after debating this for over 15 years, I'm starting a podcast, and you guys are my
Yes.
inspiration. Huh?
Love it. What's it called?
It's gonna be get ready. You ready? Uh,
I'm ready.
Drill down, then scale up. Right? And it's
Oh,
it's it's
okay.
drill down on the problems in your organization, right? And
Yeah.
it's a spoof on implants. Drill down, figure out what you need to fix, what you need to
Mm-hmm.
systematize, what you
Mm-hmm.
need to, as Michael Gerber said, create almost a franchise prototype around, and then scale it up, right? So it is scalable, so it's repeatable, right? And
Yeah.
and the spoof is scaling and root planning. So drill down, then scale up.
or drill down and then build up. Like
That's
a build up for a
I
crown.
like that. Drill down, build up, scale up.
Yeah, just something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Yep.
That's awesome. So if
So
someone wanted to get a hold of you or to learn more about it, will there be a good website, a good email, or?
Yeah, so I'll put the book trilogy on the
The show
podcast
notes?
website. Yep, and
Okay,
I'll
great.
what I'll do is we're probably gonna launch it in about 6 weeks. I don't know when you're listening to this. It may already be launched if you're in the notes, but we can throw it in the notes. People can go on there, grab a free copy of the book trilogy with the updates, the 10-year anniversary, and yeah, that way you don't have to read through all the concepts in these books that were okay. The 10-year anniversary is supposed to boil it all down and just the stuff that's creating a massive impact for docs.
That's spectacular. Okay, I know that we're short on time. Do you have time for one more question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's say that somebody is able to perform an ESOP within their group, right, of dental practices. They're able to do an internal recap, so they don't have to include private equity. And then it allows them to take out some of the equity of their group and put it into an ERISA qualified retirement account. So if that retirement account were open, did I have that right? Did I understand that correctly?
You did. You
Okay.
nailed it. Yep.
Okay. So let's say they have that retirement account now. Do they have to wait until they're 65 to take that money out, or could they use that money somehow like to invest in real estate tax free, or are there certain strategies that way to get that money before they're, at that
Great
age?
question. So in Rick Workman's example, a 28% ESOP. Let's say you do a 30% ESOP, which is really common. You're only taking a piece of that business and putting it into retirement. The majority of the company, now that the staff are on board and aligned, ends up generally, in most studies, being way more profitable than owning 100% of something yourself or with a couple doctor partners. And so the
Wow.
part that you do put in retirement, it is true. You cannot touch that till you're 59 and a half. So the age of
Okay.
59. You can actually tap into it in certain cases in your younger 50s
Oh,
without penalty. Okay. But the reality is that is one benefit to doing the ESOP. You don't touch that money, you let it grow tax deferred. And if you build it as a Roth, when you take it out, it's tax free, which is
right.
amazing, right? So
Right.
all the rest of the company that you still own, you use that to live off of while your retirement is growing. And then a lot of ESOPs, because they've liked it so much, convert from a 30% ESOP to a 60 or 70% ESOP or 100% ESOP. And even with 100% ESOP, you, the doctor, can still own a bunch of the stock through the ESOP and still can control the company. So believe it or not, with an ESOP, you can do a 100% sale and still
Wow.
control the company.
Wow.
That's
I did not
crazy.
know that was
hmm
possible.
Craziness.
That
Yep.
is
And
spectacular.
yep. And Carter was mentioning me, he talked to a doctor, 8 locations. One of them's 22 operatories. And Carter brings up the ESOP thing. And the guy says, yeah, I did an ESOP. Loved it. Right. Is this true, Carter? Is that
That's
right?
true. He did it.
So, Cassidy, you need to get him on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
The ESOP, the big boys and big girl dentists who know what they're doing, that's what they're silently doing, saying, forget about you, private equity. I can do my own thing, pay half the taxes, incentivize my team, and watch this. You don't preclude yourself from going private equity down the road. Rick Workman did that after his ESOP. So an ESOP almost simultaneously aligns your team and doctors, fills your piggy bank for retirement to the brim, and does not cross any future option off the table. So I view it as the most flexible, tax friendly, and beneficial transaction today in dentistry. So that'll be in the
Wow.
book trilogy that'll be coming out to show step by step how to do an ESOP.
That is so inspiring and incredible. I cannot wait to learn more about that. Wow. You've been absolutely spectacular here, Brady. We can't thank you enough for coming on. I know we got to sign off, but Carter, do you mind signing us off today?
Absolutely. Thanks again, Dad, for joining us. This conversation was amazing, super informative. This was great. Guys, thanks for tuning in to the Revolution Dentistry podcast. If you're finding value here, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're here every week to help you grow, and we'll see you next time.